Will Canada be forced to pay Trump's new 50% tariff, or do you have to pay it? Well, we all know the real answer to that question, don't we? It's not like inflation is not already killing the average American right now. This is not a symbolic tax at all. It covers nearly $20 billion in selected Canadian goods, including wine, dairy products, furniture, clothing, hockey equipment, cement, wood products, machinery, and other items used by American families and businesses every day. The first person legally required to pay is not the Canadian government. It is the American importer. Shocker. President Trump signed 3 proclamations in July 20th of this year. They scheduled an additional 50% tariff on specific Canadian products beginning at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on August the 19th. The White House says Canada discriminates against American automobiles, alcoholic beverages, and dairy products. Trump is using Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, a law that allows duties up to 50% when a foreign country disadvantages American commerce. This is the part many political speeches leave out. But I'm not. A tariff is collected by U.S. Customs from the company importing the product into the United States. It's amazing how many people still don't know that. Canada does not receive an invoice from Washington. That's the process that people think, but that's not how it goes. An American importer can ask the Canadian supplier to lower its price. It can absorb part of the cost. It can switch suppliers, or it can raise the price to charge to its wholesalers, its retailers, builders, restaurants, and consumers. That means Canada can feel pain through lower sales and lost jobs. But Americans can still feel the pain even more because we have to pay more. But both can happen at the same time, and that sucks for the average American. So the unanswered question is not whether Canada has trade barriers, because they really do. The question is whether a 50% tariff across hundreds of products classifications is a precise response, or a negotiating weapon whose cost lands partly on American buyers. And there's another question that I have to ask. Will last-minute negotiations stop or delay the duties before midnight? As of this recording, talks remain active and the deadline remains in place. Did you know this is a 50% tariff on every product Canada sends to the United States? The administration estimates the list covers about $20 billion in imports. That is significant, but it is only a portion of the total U.S.-Canada trade. Among the covered categories are wine and other alcohol, certain dairy products, furniture, clothing, swimming pools, fishing rods, hockey gear, cement, machinery, electrical equipment, wood products, seeds, and other goods. We have energy, postage, which is like fertilizer, fish, certain critical minerals, goods already covered by a separate Section 232 restrictions, and qualifying civil aircraft products are excluded. Thank God. That distinction matters. Saying Trump put a 50% tariff on Canada is a useful shorthand, but saying every Canadian import is taxed at 50% would be an absolute falsehood. The second surprise is that covered goods do not escape this tariff merely because they qualify under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, better known as the USMCA. Trump negotiated the signed USMCA during the first term. The agreement was sold as a modern set of predictable rules for North American trade. But these proclamations say the additional duties apply regardless of the USMCA preferential treatment. That creates a serious credibility problem. If a negotiated trade agreement cannot protect a qualifying product from new tariff imposed under an old statute, business cannot confidently calculate future costs. That's a problem for a businessman. Supporters call that leverage. Businessmen call that uncertainty, and businessmen do not like uncertainty. And uncertainty delays investment even before a tariff changes a single price. So should we now be fair to the administration about this political move? What do you think? Canada's dairy system uses tight import controls and high over-quota tariffs. Alcohol systems have long limited or controlled access to U.S. products. Canada also imposes countermeasures after early American tariffs, including restrictions affecting U.S. alcohol and autos. American farmers, beverage producers, and manufacturers have legitimate complaints when Canada rules treat them differently or block market access altogether. The United States does not have to pretend barriers are free trade, but proven discrimination does not answer the next question. Why are unrelated products such as furniture, clothing, cement, hockey gear on the retaliation list? I think hockey gear is kind of like a dab at them. The administration's legal theory may permit cross-sector retaliation. Politically, it still owes the Americans a clear explanation of why each category was selected and what concession will it remove. What if I told you when politicians say the foreign country pays a tariff, separate the legal payment from the economic effect? Legally, the importer pays the tariff at the border. Economically, the cost can be shared. Canadian exporters may cut prices. American importers may accept lower profit. Retailers may raise prices. Buyers may switch products. Workers can lose hours if sales decline. That's how it works. That's the process. Research on recent U.S. tariffs has generally found that American businesses and households absorb a large share of the burden. Newer analysis also finds consumer price increases, although pass-through is incomplete and varies by product. A 50% tariff, therefore, does not guarantee a 50% shelf price increase, but it creates a very large cost that someone in the supply chain must absorb. For a product with $10,000 custom value, the additional duty can add another $5,000 before normal duties, shipping, storage, financing, and retail markup are even considered. Section 338 is nearly a century old and has never been used or imposed this way ever. The statute authorizes the president to respond when another country discriminates against American commerce and caps the additional duty at 50%, which Trump has done. That gives the administration a argument that is different from the emergency authority the Supreme Court rejected earlier this year. But different does not mean immune from challenge. Courts may be asked whether the administration made the findings the statute requires, whether the product list reasonably offset the identified discrimination, and how Section 338 interacts with Congress approval of the USMCA. Remember, that's the United States-Mexico-Canadian Agreement. Until a court issues an order, businesses must prepare to pay more. A possible lawsuit is not a refund at the loading dock. I shouldn't say this, but here it is. The standard for both parties should be used. If the purpose is to force Canada to open its dairy, alcohol, and auto markets, identify the exact concessions being demanded. Publish an estimate of the cost to the American importers and to the consumers. Explain why each targeted product is connected in the dispute. Set an exit condition so the tariffs end when the discrimination ends, and report the results. Did Americans export increase? Did the production return back to home like it should have? Or did companies simply pay more and reduce purchases? Tariffs can produce leverage. They can also produce inflation. You know, the thing that the Federal Reserve is trying to get under 2%, but can't. Retaliation, disrupted supply chains, and political headlines without lasting industrial gains. The policy should be judged by measurable results, not by whether the word tough appears in a speech. Most of you would skip this part, but I would say, hey, you really need to pay attention. The honest conclusion is this. Canada maintains protectionist barriers that deserve scrutiny. The United States has a legitimate interest in defending American producers, but the new 50% duty is collected from American importers on selected Canadian goods. Canadian companies may lose sales, while American businesses and consumers may absorb higher costs. That's no bueno. This is not every Canadian product, of course, so let's keep that in mind. It is not automatically illegal, and it is not free money paid by Ottawa. Before the deadline passes, the administration should tell the public what victory looks like for all of us, how much leverage is expected to be gained from this, and how much Americans may have to pay in order to get it. That is the difference between trade strategy and a tariff headline. Next, watch my breakdown on July inflation, because even when the inflation rates falls, the prices that have already increased do not reset themselves automatically. Click the video now. This is Money and Politics Simplified. Stay informed, stay engaged, because when you understand who pays the tariffs, well, my friends, you understand the politics. Have a good night. Thank you.
Talking money, talking power. Follow the paper and you find a throne. Deals in the back while the cameras roll. Who's funding fear? Who's buying hope? Who's pulling strings every time we vote?